You went to fashion school, you went to law school, did a little bit medical, and seeing that wasn't for you, to then starting your own business. And through that, I'm sure you really set your life up to where you're at today.
And I also think you brought something else every time you went to the next level.
Yeah.
It don't matter if you're working at McDonald's flipping fries. Like, pay attention to the way that McDonald's is operating. So when you're going on your own now, it's like, oh, okay, I remember that process. I remember those things. So for me, I appreciate that part. Just keep adding to my toolbox. So
get your money on. Get your money on. Get your money on. Get your money on.
Bag talk.
Businessman.
Man, I'm a businessman.
Money talk.
You run our podcast, bro. We can bring something new to life.
I ain't a businessman, I'm a business man. Now let me handle my business.
Here we are. Season 3. Not season 3, it's season 2. Episode 3.
Yeah.
We're real excited. We got a very, very, very special guest here today. Mona Lisa Prosper. Let's give her a round of applause. Round of applause.
All the way from
Montreal. Montreal. Just flew in an hour ago. Just flew. How was the flight?
The flight was great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Thanks.
Yes.
Welcome to Halifax.
Welcome
you. To Halifax.
Yeah.
Halifax. I wanted to say North Preston, but we're not North Preston.
Yeah.
But welcome to North Preston. She's gonna pop by. She's gonna check the Black Culture Center.
Yes.
All that good stuff. We had a little chat about the history. But welcome. We're super excited to have you here.
This is a big weekend.
It is a big weekend.
Yeah, it is a big weekend.
The Black Summit. What's the official name of that?
National Black Canadian Summit, I believe.
National Black Canadian Summit.
Yeah.
Yes, we were. We went to a talk a few years ago with Michelle Jean.
Honorable.
The
Honorable.
And yes, and she was telling us that it was coming here. Obviously, COVID put a pause on that, but it's back around. It's here, and there's some great Black people here, including yourself. So like you said, we're super excited to have you. Shout out to Alfred and the folks at Tribe making the connection. We did some digging, and it's a super inspiring story that, our listeners will be very happy to hear, and I'm sure we'll get into some great things. So yeah, just wanted to welcome you for sure. So we're going to get right into it. Originally born and raised in Montreal, of a Haitian background. Tell us a bit about that, growing up in Montreal. I have some friends from Montreal that have Haitian background. A lot of Haitians in Montreal. Shout out to the Haitians. Love Haitian food. They got some great food. But yeah, just curious to hear about what that was like.
Yeah. So yeah, as you said, born and raised in Montreal of two Haitian parents, two very proud Haitian parents, I'm going to say, because that's key in who I am and in everything that I do and in my story. And there's a very large Haitian community in Montreal. So I have a lot of family all over the world, but I have a lot of family also locally in Montreal.
Nice.
And the thing that I appreciate, I appreciated many things, if not all of my childhood, but one thing that really stands out whenever I get asked about my roots and my Haitian heritage is how much it was important for my parents to transmit everything that, their pride, their knowledge, and for us to know the good and the bad, to know and understand, and to make sure that as much as possible we could connect to the country. So it really felt like in my household it was very Haitian, without neglecting the fact that I'm both Quebecer, Canadian, and Haitian. I can't fully identify to one or the other because it's really both who make me who I am. Because at the end of the day, I grew up there. So whenever I visit my family in Haiti, I feel the difference. The I'm gonna call the Haitian people also view me as you're not really. But yeah, that was a key part, and it's really it's a huge part of who I am.
No, for me specifically, for us, it's my little brother, but for us, I resonate a lot with that. Our parents are both from North Preston, very proud North Preston people. So there's people who are from somewhere, but then there's people who are proud to be from somewhere. And I think that it's always worth a mention to that. There is a difference. You know what I mean? Like when somebody's from somewhere and somebody's proud to be from somewhere, I think that it really transmits well into the next generation. You carry that with you. And I think that's a blessing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's an ultimate blessing for sure.
Yeah, to know where you come from and to be proud of it. I think a lot of our blessings and who we are has been that as well. You know, we represent, I told you a bit about my basketball background. Whenever I played in the States and Greece, anywhere, I wanted North Preston to be, you know, and North Preston is our country.
Yeah.
That's where, when people ask where from, it's North Preston. So I can really resonate with that pride.
Yeah.
Like I said, you know, there's a huge Haitian community in Montreal. So what was that like? Was there a lot of, did you grow up in a Haitian community? Was there a lot of, you know, family or Haitian people around you? How did that look for you?
Yes. So I'd like to add, my parents are very proud Haitians, and they're people who love to gather. So
join the club.
Yeah.
The story of Black people, majority across the world. We just love to be together.
Yeah, sure.
And it's the beauty of it all, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up around, so like I said, I have lots of different aunts and uncles, and I'm pretty sure it's like that throughout the Black community, but in the Haitian community, we have a lot of what we call quote unquote Haitian cousins. So people that my parents grew up with, and so their kids are cousins and their aunts and uncles. So everybody, you know, so I grew up with a really, really large family. And so one thing, my home, my household was actually where every summers, all the kids from the family, from Haiti, from New Orleans, from everywhere would come, because my mom is a teacher. She's retired now.
Nice.
And so all the kids would just be there. And I'm the youngest of a family of 4.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But the youngest from really far. So my goal was always to be with the older ones and fit in. So I really grew up well surrounded in a very I'm going to say Haitian culture mixed in with the American culture, the Canadian culture.
Right.
And as well locally, anytime we got a chance to gather, we would do that. And another thing that my parents did a lot, for example, my dad is a big music fan, if I may say. He taught himself how to play piano. He's, you know, jazz is his thing. So I grew up listening to lots of jazz, but also lots of Haitian music. And so when it was time for me to learn to play piano, because all 4 of us played piano,
gotcha.
it was important for him and for myself in learning that there is such a thing as classical Haitian music. So I had to learn certain songs from classical Haitian composers, you know. So anytime they could add that layer to whatever it was that I was doing, that we were all doing, they did, and I love that, and I'm so excited for when I have kids. I want to be able to do that,
right.
You know, because it's like you said at the very beginning, knowing where you come from, understanding where you come from, gives you so much more solid grounds in, you know, in who you are and your confidence and your identity.
Certainly.
So yeah,
that's
what it was
that's
like.
big. Yeah.
Very big.
Yeah.
You obviously, you know, grew up to be an entrepreneur. You started some businesses, some pretty great businesses. When you were younger, what was that like? Did you see entrepreneurs around? How were you in school? I know for me, you know, I was starting businesses since age 4, selling potatoes, and just always had that entrepreneurial spirit. You know, how was that for you? Did you see anything like that growing up?
You know what? Funny enough, not really, if not at all. I kind of always was somewhat intrigued by, you know, businesses, the business world, but I mean, my dad's a doctor, my mom's a teacher, my sister's a psychologist. That, you know, so it's very traditional, professional. So it around me, it was mostly that as well. The cousins, the aunts, and uncles. So entrepreneurship really only came in my mind as a possibility, I would say around 2014, 2013, when I was in university finishing school. I was in law school, and I always tell this story. I was in law school. It was a strategic choice. It was never a question of, yes, I want to be, you know, it's not the typical story. I wanted to be a lawyer ever since I was a kid. No.
Right.
It was just a strategic choice because I knew it was a good, if I may say, first diploma, good knowledge to have in order to go somewhere else. And I don't know what the somewhere else was. I have so many different interests. So yeah, not that many around me. And when I first, you know, dove into entrepreneurship, I could sense the stress my parents had and the people around me, because it was also somewhat of a foreign concept to them.
You're breaking the chain.
Certainly.
Yeah.
You go to school to be a lawyer, and now you're not going into law.
Right.
You're going to start a business, which is
and
crazy.
you know, as I was doing a little bit of research, you know, on your story a bit, I was kind of curious. That was one of the questions, like, you know, kind of like where we come from, and really anywhere, like anywhere in the world, like go to school, you become a doctor or a lawyer, success. And, you know, I was reading your bio, and it was like, graduated law school, and I just wanted something more. I'm like, I'm looking around.
being a lawyer is the
like,
more.
That's the more. That's where
that's the
where
pinnacle.
everybody is going to. So when you said here, like, you know, it was a strategic choice, I kind of want to backtrack and be like, what was the mind frame when you when at whatever point when you're like, I'm making this decision, but this is not necessarily what I want to do. Like, kind of walk me through that thought process.
I'm going to give 4 years of my life to law school, after undergrad to law school, but I don't want to be a lawyer.
Right.
But I know this is going to be a great basis to launch pad me into wherever I go. That's
Okay, that's a great question, and that's a loaded question.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna,
For sure.
We got some time.
So, the way, so in Quebec, you know, we have what we call cégep. So it's 2 years of college, and then you have to make a choice for university. And I remember when I got into cégep, so right after when our high school ends, I was going to become a doctor. Okay, that was, and it was really what I wanted. My dad was very happy because, like I said, I'm the youngest of 4, and none of them became doctors. So he was like, "Oh, I'm going to pass on my passion, and you know, this is the one who's going to do it." And when I got into cégep in the health sciences sort of degree, I discovered that I hated it. There was no way.
Right.
And you know, a lot of people, because in Quebec you can get into med school or law school right after cégep.
Really?
Because I know that outside you have to do undergrad before.
Right.
So a lot of my friends that were also pursuing a medical career and didn't think they would be able to enter medicine right away, they were like, okay, I'll just go do a undergrad in biochemistry or something else. And just the thought of that possibility, I felt dead inside. I was like, there is no way. And then it was, now what? You know, and so I went into a whirlwind of, you know, thinking, soul searching, not really knowing. And I was 16. You're so young. You don't know who you are, what you want to do. I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so that's where the strategic part came in. It was more, what can I do now that I know will be secure enough, allow me to explore if that's even, you know, a possibility. Maybe I'll enjoy it. But also, it'll give me time to figure myself out and see, right, what is it that I want to do. So that's how I say it was a strategic choice. And the funny story, when it was time to apply, you have until March 1st to apply to university of the last year of cégep. And I remember it was, I had all these books of all these universities with all these different programs. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply to everything. Let me just buy more time to figure out what I'm going to do. So I remember I applied to communications, business, law school. I had a really big, I still do, I'm very passionate about the fashion industry. You see another weird thing coming in, but that has followed me. So that followed me throughout my life. I learned how to sew. So I was like, oh, maybe I could go, you know, something into fashion. So I looked into that, but I was scared, and that would have been something very
risk.
Especially with parents that are doctors and
exactly
fashion.
So I was like, this is something I know that I'm going to keep in mind, and I don't necessarily need to have a degree in that. For example, if I study business, because it's more the business side, right, that I'm interested in, it'll allow me to do that. So at the end, when I got all the responses that were all positive, I was like, okay, now what do I do? I'm like, okay, just go to law school. And the university I was going to had a law and MBA program that I was considering maybe. So that's how I ended up in law school.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, you know, law gives you a strong foundation. You know, when you talk about like the things that you're going to learn in law school, I think will lead to pretty much anywhere. You know, if you're a good lawyer, if you understand the law, you can make a good business owner. You could make a lot of things.
Yeah,
you know
and a lot of people take that path of going to law school as a foundation, and then they go anywhere. Even people that worked in law before. You look at, I just seen the government. They hired like 5 lawyers before because now you can come work in this sector and do something completely different. But that background of law And lawyers are usually motivated people. They're usually
if
you go to law school.
You go to law school,
right? And I guess which was my next question. What was law school like? Was it challenging? How did that go for you? I hear the horror stories. It's not for me. So anyone that passes law school, I give them the props.
Law school, my years of law school. So I went to law school at Sherbrooke University, which is an hour and a half away from Montreal. And it's I want to say a student city, but it's not. And I'm a city girl. Like, I like it when it's vibrant and it moves. And Sherbrooke's not so much like that. But luckily, I went and I rented an apartment with two of my friends that were also going to law school. And we were at Cégep together. We were friends. So I had like a solid, clique there. Yeah. And then I met with a whole bunch of other Montreal students. And we were always like not loving Sherbrooke together and coming back every weekend.
It's so not like bonding on that. Yeah, we hate it here. Yeah, I've been there many times. Yeah,
it was funny. So I had that group that kind of kept me together throughout law school, and the classes. So it's funny. It's sort of a roller coaster. One of my friends she always makes fun of me about that. So when I first got there, I'm gonna say the first year, I was extremely motivated because I was getting out of the health sciences, coming into something that felt more connected to me, analyzing, understanding, and putting things together. So I was all in. I was so motivated. It was amazing. And I guess the classes spoke to me more. And then year 2 came around and the interest just died. And it was like I did a complete 180, and my friend is always like, when you first joined, I was like involved in all these committees and so on, and like trying to drag them on, and they were like, yeah, okay, relax, Mona. I'm like, no, this is great. And then year 2, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to go to class.
Do the bare minimum.
Do what I have to do. So yeah, I guess it was kind of my interest, was on and off depending. I did, I can't complain. I did well. Everything went well, but I spent most of my time asking myself what I was doing there and what I would do with it. Because the goal was go to law school. It'll allow you to get to point B. What is point B? I don't know. So that was a bit of a struggle figuring that out throughout law school. So that's what it was like.
Gotcha. So you finished law school. You got through it, and that point B happened to be a business that you started, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Proposio 360.
Yes.
Is that how you say it?
Yes.
So, I mean, tell us, how did you come about that? What was that, and what did that look like?
Sorry to cut you off. Again, a little bit of research. You are still... So you are a lawyer.
Still a part of the bar.
The Quebec bar.
Yes.
So before we go there, clap that up. Just quick answer. Do you have to like recertify yourself every year? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. What does that look like?
Yeah, so you have to do training, a number of hours of training every 2 years, and then you pay the fee to continue to be part of
the society.
So like your big family, they could call you out for legal advice, or you could show up in court. Or
technically, yes, but no, because I pay the fee of the non-practicing lawyer because they're a fee for that. So legally speaking, I'm not allowed to give legal counsel.
Okay.
So yeah, but everybody always asks me.
Ask you anyway.
Hey, so so I try to help, but I'm always like, remember, I can't legally
give legal advice.
Right. No, that's cool. I felt that's important to kind of make mention. That's especially for our listeners, because a lot of times like it's all about highlighting these beautiful black people, specifically beautiful black women that are like doing amazing things. And I think just being a part of like, I'm not a practicing lawyer, but I'm still a part of the bar. I could pull up any day and just like, you know what, I want to do this. So I got that in the back pocket. So that's super dope.
Very cool. So yeah, Proposio 360. How did that? You finished law school. You're like, what's the plan B, or what's the next step? Oh no, I don't want to go be a lawyer. I want to start my own business.
So that was also an interesting process. So the way it goes when you're done with law school, you have to go and do your articling. So basically an internship. No, sorry. When you finish law school, then you go to bar school.
Right.
So you do that, then you pass the bar, and then you do your internship. So I did also all of that. And my internship was great. I ended up working for this lawyer, a criminal lawyer.
Okay.
amazing woman, like a
You studied
fierce-
criminal law?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So
You could beat the case.
sorry.
You could beat the case.
yes.
So and criminal law, because when I was out of everything that I studied, I felt like it was the more if I may say, very down to earth, dealing with real
people,
issues,
yeah.
real issues. Not that the others are not real
Yep.
issues, and it was also less procedure, less written procedure, more of going to court, going to meet, your clients and so on. So I got an internship in criminal law. I was her first intern.
Nice.
And she had opened her small boutique office, I believe, maybe 2 or 3 years before.
Okay.
And she was practicing alone. So it was interesting because I saw what it was like to have a solo practice and, how you go and get your clients. So she really involved me in everything.
Very cool.
So that was nice. And I remember I was looking at her go, and something inside of me felt like, when you... not envy is not the right word, but when you look at what somebody's doing and you're sort of inspired by it, it means that you have it. It sort of means that you have it inside of you.
100%.
But it wasn't completely clear for me then. But I remember I kept on looking at, the way she, like her different strategies and how she went about more building her business more than how she went about the cases, to be honest. But it was very interesting, and it was 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. And when I was done, she offered me a sort of a position, but at the stage where she was at, and a lot of lawyers, solo practitioners in criminal law, they're not at the stage where they hire employees. They sort of hire like contractants. So I would have to build my own clientele, but she'd be there. And I declined. We stayed in touch because we got along really well, but I declined because I felt like if I went that route, I would be labeled as a criminal lawyer. I wasn't sure it was what I wanted to do. And I didn't feel the passion enough for me to go on and become this entrepreneur. So I declined and I took a step back. And I actually went to fashion school for it was my break. It was my break from life. My parents supported me. I could sense the question marks, like what are you doing exactly? But I was
becoming a professional student.
So I did that, but like it was a quick, just one semester. I wanted to get it out of my system and do a couple of classes in fashion merchandising. Got that out of the way, and still the conclusion was, I know that if I want to get into that field, I don't necessarily need to get the specific diploma. So then I was like, okay, Mona, you have to give law a chance. You have to figure it out. So I started looking for jobs. And at the time in Montreal, it was 2014. The job market, especially for younger lawyers, was extremely difficult. It was hard to get in. If you didn't do your internship where you were before, they wouldn't hire people that they had to train. So I took a couple of months, tried looking for jobs. And it was really just because I had to do it. I was not inspired by none of the postings. I didn't feel like I belonged. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and open my own thing and then gain experience. And that will allow me to see what field I'm interested in. So, because I'm a very proactive person. So if I'm just sitting down, not doing anything,
I'm sensing that.
Yeah, we get the sense.
I'm sensing that. It's two things I'm sensing. Very proactive and very entrepreneurial. Everything I'm listening to is challenge, even my own. How do I solve it? Challenge, how do I solve it? Okay, I'm gonna go do it.
No, that's exactly it. But but it was unclear to me right at that time. That's what it was. And so I went on. I opened my own firm. It was just called Prosper Avocat, so basically lawyer, my last name and lawyer. And I was like, okay, I do criminal law, family law here and there, and I had a few experienced lawyers that would help me. And my close friend was a notary. She also started her own notary office. Okay. So we rented our office in the same sort of co-working space. And I just jumped, I dove right in. I was like, I need to figure it out. And I would say 8 months in, I realized there was no way I would do family law. And I have so much respect for family lawyers because you're dealing with really, people's feelings, and it's a lot. So anyways, lots of respect for everybody, but family law, I did a few files and I couldn't do it. And so 8 months in, one of my good friends from Cégep, who she did her law school at McGill, and she did more of the traditional route to begin with. She went into one of the big law firms for her internship, but she also felt like she didn't really belong. And she knew I started my own thing. She knew I was struggling because I didn't really like it. And she came to me, she's like, you know what? We should partner. We should create this new outside of the traditional law firms. Let's work. And it was right at the time in Montreal where the startup ecosystem was really booming.
Really coming together.
And I remember I was reading all these stories. I was really that's where the interest really came in. And I wanted to be part of it, but I didn't know how because, you know, I have a law degree. I'm a lawyer. So I was like, you know what? Let me use my law degree creatively. Her name is Frederick. I was like, Frederick, you know, I'm in, let's do this. So that's how I jumped right in. And that's how we started Propulsio in May of 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what did that look like? Like what were, I guess, the operations of that business? Like what did you do?
Yeah. So the idea and the business still exists today. And I think it's the same approach. It was a one-stop shop for businesses. That was sort of our tagline. So we were both lawyers. Her boyfriend at the time was a financial analyst, business consultant. So we wanted to offer business consulting and legal services within the same space. Because a lot of time they're disconnected. You either pay super high prices. Now it's evolved, but super high prices for your corporate lawyer that don't really speak to like the you know the business strategies. So especially for startups.
Startup and small business.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and we had fixed rates. So that was really the approach. So that was sort of my way into the startup ecosystem in Montreal. So that's when I started networking like crazy. And in Montreal, like networking events, well, pre-COVID, now it's coming back. There's one every night. There's something happening all the time. So I remember I was doing these things, and I was invited to give different trainings on the legal aspects of starting a business. So at first we were 3 partners, and her boyfriend at the time was offering business consulting, and we had other business consultants ad hoc. And then we grew the team a little bit. So we had a team of, we called them the junior lawyers, but really they were like 2 years younger than us. We had that. We had a really nice office space, a loft in a cool neighborhood in Montreal called Saint Henry. And yeah, so I did that for 3 years. And what I really loved most was business development, going out there, giving presentations. And I remember the fun part was meeting with the clients who had all these amazing ideas. So they would sit up with us in our boardroom, I remember, and we would talk about their business. And I would have so many ideas of strategies and who you should partner with and what to do. And then the clients would leave and I'd be left with, contract reviewing or drafting. And I felt like completely dead inside once again. So that was sort of my cue after 3 years to be, maybe it's time, if you really want to evolve into go to that point B that you still don't know clearly what it is, maybe it's time to cut ties.
Very cool. Very cool. No, I mean, super inspiring to hear, you know, that journey, right? And so much stuff packed into, you know, that, and that's coming from 16 to 24. Right, you went to fashion school, you went to law school, did a little bit of stint in medical, and seeing that wasn't for you, to then starting your own business, and that's why I tell anyone, if you have a business in mind, to start it. Just because, for nothing else, the experience to, you know, okay, well now I'm not just being a lawyer, I got to also, you know, do contracting. I got to also do all these other parts. I got to find team members. I got to go to networking events. I got to find clients. And through that, you know, I'm sure you really set your life up to where you're at today. And we'll continue to go through your story. But no, just super inspiring. And like you said, just a real go-getter, right? Someone that something's on my mind. I got something that I think I want to do. I'm just going to go. And I can appreciate that because we see a lot of people that they stay in this analysis paralysis stage. They don't want to try something. They're so scared. And, you know, you're really someone that put yourself out there a lot of times, and it's obviously paid off. Right?
And I also think, too, you know, one of the things that I appreciate from listening to, you know, you tell your story is it's like you brought something else every time you went to the next level. Right? Like, you know, okay, I'm in medical school. And obviously, if you're in medical school, you got to learn how to work hard. There's a lot of shit coming at you. And, okay, now I'm going to law school. Okay, boom. You're learning different things. Law school, Now I'm working in an internship, and I'm watching how somebody is building their business from the ground up, and I'm seeing how she's attracting clients and doing all these things. Okay, now I'm starting my own business, and I got to go put in the grind. So it's like every time it's like I'm bringing something else along with me. And so like to the people, because everybody's journey is different. There's people that just start, and then there's people that do a lot of different shit to kind of get where they need to go. But the key is like when you do go, make sure that you're bringing something with you. It don't matter if you're working at McDonald's flipping fries. Like, pay attention to the way that McDonald's is operating. So when you're gone on your own now, it's like, oh, okay, I remember that process. I remember those things. So for me, I appreciate that part. Like, it's like I'm bringing something every time. Just keep adding to my toolbox. So, certainly. Yeah, super dope.
Certainly. After Proposio, like you said, you got to that place of this was no longer for you. I believe you went on to work in recruiting, specifically for startups or new small businesses, and helping them, hire their first hires, which is huge, and as well as Montreal International, so helping international business come to Montreal. Two very cool gigs, and which I'm curious to hear a bit about both of those for sure.
Yeah. So when I decided it was time to cut ties with Proposio, it took me a year to come to that conclusion, because we had put so much, when you start your business, your baby. And I was, I wasn't alone in that. I had my business partner. So it was extremely difficult for me to come to terms with that as well. So I decided to cut ties, and I jumped into nothing because I couldn't be in this. You can't be in your business looking for a job and doing it, like it doesn't work.
Don't work.
It doesn't work. So I had
like you're cheating.
Yeah,
exactly. No, and I tried so many different things. I tried to cater to the fashion industry in Montreal in my services, the music industry, because I'm really into that. Didn't really work out because as we know, artists when they start out, they don't really have the funds, even if we were more affordable to come to lawyers. So anyways, I cut ties, and then I'm, once again, no idea what's happening next. And it was also very difficult for me to pin down, okay, this is what I want to do, or this is what I'm looking for. And I always said, I was like, oh, if it was like, oh, I'm done with Proposio, now I want to be a painter, or now I want to be this, then there would be at least somewhat of a clear path to get there. But right now I just know what I enjoy doing and how to put them all together. So, continuing being who I am and being proactive, I started meeting. So I had built quite an interesting network in those 3 years. So I started meeting with different people just to talk, and people that were doing things that I was interested in and whatever, and just talking, because that's it's a lot of things in life is about who and sometimes what you say to a certain person can spark something and connect you. So I was really looking for that more than anything. And one of our sort of partners at Proposio, nothing really ended up to come out of it, but she was a headhunter, and she was starting within her firm. She was starting I'm going to see services for startups. So that's where she was looking to partner with us, because all of her clients were startups. And her and I clicked. So I reached back out to her just for a conversation. And in my mind, I was thinking, she's a headhunter. I'm looking for something. She knows me a little bit. So maybe if she sees an interesting position, she'll think of me.
Right.
And as we talked, and she said, we're looking for actually a headhunter within our team. And you could be doing headhunting for lawyers, because they had big law firms as clients. Since you're a lawyer, you know the field, but you could also do different other positions. And truthfully, I was at a point where I was staying open to everything. And what attracted me to headhunting was I'm going to say the networking side, because at the end of the day, you're meeting with clients that have specific needs to allow their business to keep on evolving. It was not only startups. I had a few, but and then you have to meet with a whole bunch of professionals with different backgrounds. So that would also allow me to keep on researching and finding things that I would like. And I needed a sort of stability as well at that point, because I felt lost. I needed something solid to land on. So it was perfect. And I did that for about a year. And I learned so much in doing that. But you know, in my life, you would have told me, yeah, you're gonna be a headhunter. I'd say, oh,
yeah.
no,
What are you talking about? No way. I went to law
Imagine
school.
telling your parents.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what the headhunting experience was like. It was for a year. I did that for a year. Quickly after a year, I started feeling like I wanted to do something else. As you can see, I have a pattern where I get bored.
Yeah. Join
I
the
like
club.
a challenge.
I got a little bit of I call it undiagnosed macro ADHD, but I don't know what it is yet. But yeah, I get bored every 6 months of something. Yeah. Whether it's activity.
Every 2-3 months.
He knows me. But yeah.
So you know that. Yeah,
I know
so
it. I know it. I know it. I identify with it.
Yeah. And so I felt like I wanted to do something else. It was great for the time. And so Montreal International actually it's a very dynamic organization, and through the headhunting firm I was working for is called Groupe Millésime, and they had corporate partners. Montreal International was one of them, so that because Montreal International attracts companies, they're looking for talent, so you know it was all of that.
Good
and
mesh.
I connected with a lot of the people working at Montreal International, because as you can see, I love to talk. I love to connect with people, and so anyway, so I got along with a few people there, and every single person I met from Montreal International was honestly really awesome, and I really liked the way the organization was positioning itself, and I was really intrigued by the whole process of foreign investment attraction and how it all worked. And even before being a headhunter, I remember I went onto their website. I tried to apply to one of their jobs, but obviously I didn't even get a call or anything because my profile is so strange, right?
Yeah.
But then one of the people working at Montreal International became a friend, just like my friend who recruited me to become a headhunter. They're good friends of mine until today. And I was like, we should go for coffee. And I told her about my interest and where I was at. And, it was just the perfect timing because she was at a point where in her team there was a need. She was really close with her boss and the VP of that. She's like, you know what? We're looking. You should go for coffee with them and figure it out. And I went for coffee. I met with her boss and the VP of the foreign investment and in the process of recruitment. And it was a great conversation about everything, why I was interested, what Montreal had to offer. And 3 weeks after, they said we're waiting on whatever XYZ. There was and then that's how I got the position.
And what specifically, at Montreal International, like what did you do?
So very good question. So in the foreign investment attraction team that I was part of, we're divided in teams that cover different regions of the world. And what we do is basically prospect companies that we think could benefit from coming to Montreal to open offices. So keeping in mind Montreal's strengths, right? Montreal is very big in AI. Montreal's trying to position itself in cybersecurity right now. I have the name in French, transport intelligent. Smart transportation. How would you say that? Automation.
Like Tesla or like.
Thank you. Yes, automated vehicles.
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Exactly.
Thank you. And a whole, all of these industries, and also what's interesting in Montreal is we have a lot of universities attracting a lot of international talent, local talent, and just the general cost of living is lower than other cities in the US and even in Europe. So there were different strategies depending on which region you cover. So we would do research online, just good old research, filling out Excel sheets, trying to figure out, this company just raised, maybe they'd be interesting, and so on. And then there was the traveling part that I didn't get a chance to do. But the traveling part where you actually go into big conferences places all over the world to meet with those companies and sort of sell them Montreal. And also when they would come in, because a lot of them would come to Montreal to visit, so we would plan that visit around going to visit co-working spaces, visiting universities or different centers. So it was a little bit of all of that.
So you're basically, you're selling Montreal, but what you're doing is you're learning about businesses on a global scale, what they look like, because in that research, you're going to learn a lot about a business and how they operate and how it would benefit them to be in this city. Which, I mean, you know, for me, I'm super excited to kind of get to the next part of what you currently do now. But before we go into that, I think as I'm here listening to your story and understanding, it all makes sense to me, right? Like it really makes sense to me why I think you're going to excel in the position that you're in currently, and why you're going to be super relatable to black entrepreneurs.
And super beneficial.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're not just plug somebody in, go do a job. It's like you actually come with, like, you understand startup. You know what I mean? Like you understand startup, but you also understand international business. You understand, you know, national business. So like, yeah, that's super. The ingredients that have made up you to where you are now, I think is just super cool and makes sense.
And I think it's a crucial theme, you know, from hearing your story. You know, one, like I said, to try so many different things, but the wealth of experience that you've gathered through your journey is huge, and I'm sure it's probably not done. You probably got right, knowing the type of people we are. There's more to come.
We're gonna circle back in a couple of years, and
exactly,
be somewhere else up.
But the different layers that really pull together, and is why, you know, for me, I played basketball all my life, went to school, and then I just went into the business world. Right, so there's a lot of things that I had to figure out, you know, from my life. But I appreciate the journey of going to law school, going to fashion school, working for Montreal International, starting your own business, all of these layers, because it adds so much depth and so much wide knowledge to yourself. To now where I see you at currently with Futurpreneur, you can now pour that into entrepreneurs and help them grow and really just have a different lens, which is huge, right? And kudos to you for sure for that.
100%.
Yeah. So after all this great things you've done, you now are the director at Futurpreneur within the Black entrepreneur space, specifically the Black Entrepreneur Startup Project. So I mean, tell the folks a bit about that. What Futurpreneur does, what you do within that role. We're real excited to hear about that.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for everything that you've been saying about I wish I would have spoken to you while I was going through it to help me see, right, all the things, because when you're doing it, you don't know where you're going.
Well, we wouldn't have been able to see it while you were going through it, you know. And then as I'm listening to you talk, I'm picturing people I know that are similar. I think it's giving me an appreciation of their journey, because they will land somewhere. But I think along this journey, they're gathering the ingredients.
Yeah, and it's crazy because our last guest we had in here, Ashley Hill, it was a similar journey of, you know, she went to school, flunked out of school, and she went to another school, and she started her own business. She worked for the bank. She had a similar work for nonprofits, and now she's in her own nonprofit space. So this is the second time that this story really resonated with me around that journey, and really it really helps you land, which is now Futurpreneur. And I think it really helps you shine in that role. So very curious to hear about that.
Yes. So one thing that I didn't mention throughout that, I'm going to say, professional academic journey is I also always wanted to be involved in volunteer opportunities, if I may say, sitting on boards, be involved in different committees, and everything that I did on that side either was related to women empowerment or diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially for Black communities. So I was also starting to build a network, and also my understanding grew of all of these aspects throughout these organizations. And so fast forward to my time at Montreal International, I got to the point where I felt like it was time to do something else, as I usually do, and I didn't, honestly, truthfully, I just didn't feel challenged anymore. And it was a particular time because COVID hit, so everything that I loved about our job, connecting with people and companies from all over the world, was done through a screen, and it felt solely transactional. So it was extremely heavy, but anyways, kudos to the whole team at Montreal International, because they push through and they keep on bringing so many great companies. So that was that. And so I started looking, and it was the same thing. I started actually started my MBA in while I was at Montreal International.
So
I'm
you went
finishing,
back to school again?
Yeah, I went back to school again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Listen,
I'm finishing
go
like right
getter.
now. I'm so excited.
wow.
Now
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done now.
This is your last time.
Yeah,
We'll
this
see.
is-
We'll see.
see. Never say never.
Yeah.
Might be a history major coming next or something.
Something, and we'll find a link.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I started my my MBA, and I remember I went to the sort of the guidance counselor to figure out once more what is it that I'm
Right.
going to do next. And we started connecting the dots, and I continued doing research, and then I saw the position at Futurpreneur, and it felt unreal. Honestly, I was like, but I would have never been able to put in words the position that I wanted, but it was that, and it was scary at first. I started asking myself so many questions. Do I really want to do that? And I was already familiar with Futurpreneur because when I was at Propulsio, a lot of my clients, and we directed them to Futurpreneur for funding.
Yep.
So Futurpreneur has been around for 26 years now, I believe. Anyways, over 25 years, offering finance funding.
Futurpreneur is huge. Sorry, we wrote our business plan on Futurpreneur.
Yeah.
And a couple funders said it was one of the best business plans I ever wrote. So quick shout out to Futurpreneur.
There you go.
Any
Love
entrepreneur that
that.
hits me up, I tell them
Go to
go to Futurpreneur, write your business plan.
Yeah.
The tool is great. It asks you the questions. So shout out to Futurpreneur.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Love
yes,
that.
no, for
Yes,
sure.
we have a business plan writer
Yes,
online
it's huge.
and cash flow projections. So it's all on there. So Futurpreneur offers funding and mentorship. They really go hand in hand to young entrepreneurs aged between 18 to 39 all over Canada, and that are starting a business. So it's only for startups. So I saw that posting, started reading into it. I remember I spoke to my mentor about it, the guidance counselor, my friends, and everybody was telling me, this is a job for you. I was like, are you sure? Yes, no. I was like excited, and I applied, and honestly, the process was super smooth. I connected really well with everybody that I met, and that's how I landed there. And basically, like I said, Futurpreneur has been around for a very, very long time and always served a diverse set of entrepreneurs throughout Canada, but with time wanted to develop more specific programming. So we have an Indigenous startup program that has been around since 2019, and in 2021, with funding from RBC, we launched the Black Entrepreneur Startup Program.
Nice.
And so it was developed, it took about a year, I believe, to develop, and then they recruited me to lead the program.
Nice.
So the program was launched on March 24, 2021.
Yep.
Okay.
And I started, my first official day was March 29.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So you've been here since the beginning.
since the beginning.
Right.
Since
Nice.
the beginning.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sounds that's a great.
I got
Shout out to
some
Futurpreneur.
questions.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So like, you're working for Futurpreneur, and specifically in the Black startup program, say the
The
right
Black
name.
Entrepreneur Startup Project.
Right.
Program.
Program.
Yeah. So we call it the BESP at Futurpreneur. We talk in so many acronyms.
Yes.
We call it the BESP, Black
BESP.
Entrepreneur Startup
Black
Program.
Entrepreneur Startup Program.
Right.
Gotcha.
And so in the BESP, here I am. I'm in Nova Scotia. I want to start a business. What does that look like for me? How do I connect with
I'm in
BESP?
the ages of
I'm
18 to 30.
I'm
Yes.
22.
39. 18 to
39.
39.
Okay.
Yeah.
22,
You're 22.
and I want to start a business, and I find the BESP. What happens next?
Right. So there are different ways to connect with us. So I'm going to say direct, simple way is to go on our website and to fill out the lead generation form where you
Okay.
put simple, basic information to fall into the pipeline of our business development managers. So the one in charge of the Atlantic provinces is here with us today.
Okay.
So you'll fall into
I think we had
Rosie.
a chat. We had a chat when we were trying to go through the program. So we'll double back.
There you go. There you go. And then you get connected with the business development manager, and then the process there is really to understand, okay, and to validate also, because we don't want to waste anybody's time.
Right.
No.
Yes, the eligibility, the status of the business, the industries. At Futurpreneur, we're pretty agnostic in terms of industries. Whether it's in the beauty industry, in the food industry, and e-commerce, we're pretty open. Not the only. There's certain things that we don't fund, obviously, but the main one I like to highlight is since we offer a loan, we have to be close to commercialization.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're at the R&D stage, you're too early stage to be
Right.
eligible to our program.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's one thing that's generally validated with the business development manager, and then the process starts. If it's a go, and if the entrepreneur has solid business plan, cash flow projections, they go on to the other team where the client relationship managers that we call,
Okay.
who really analyze the file, and then it goes through the whole process. We do a credit check because it is a loan. In the program, though, we are more inclusive than in our
Right.
general program because we want to address specific barriers
Right.
faced by young Black
right.
entrepreneurs, and we know that credit is one of them. So
Huge one.
we're a little bit more inclusive, but
Right.
it's still a loan.
Still
So
a
there's still
private game.
that that process behind it. And then if all goes well, and I'm really fast forwarding the process here.
Yeah.
But if all goes well, you get matched with a mentor. That happens before the funds are dispersed.
Okay.
So this is why it's really key and it's important. So the matching is done by our mentorship team in-house. And I would just like to say, we're always looking for mentors. We're looking for mentors. They're volunteer mentors. It's on our website as well. You can reach out to me if you want to know more. And we want diverse mentors, right? Because we have diverse entrepreneurs. So we're always looking for that. So our team matches them with their mentor, and then the funds are dispersed, and then the journey starts for the entrepreneur.
Nice. Cool.
So that's sort of the process, but there are other ways to sort of interact with Futurpreneur. You mentioned the resources we have online.
Yes.
We have so many templates for different industries, right, of business plans. We have cash flow projections, and that is free. Accessible to everybody. You don't have to be in the age frame or anything. You can go on there and play with it first. And we have different webinars that we do. We have a webinar series to help you if you're at the idea stage. We have different tools to help entrepreneurs get to the point where they have solid documents, they have a solid understanding of what it is they want to launch, and then for them to be funded by us.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Nice.
When it comes to approving those businesses, or you said during that process we got to vet you and make sure that you're right for what we're trying to do. What kind of things are you looking for? Hey, here I am as a business. I want to go through the program. I want to get funding. What are you looking for from me and my business to show you guys to say, hey, you're good to go?
So start with the basics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We want the understanding of what it is that you're selling, promoting, how you're gonna, sell it, promote it, right, business plan, who you're selling it to. And on the cash flow projection side, and this is the one that is the most, one of the most, I want to say, challenging parts, and we're working on that to develop more programming around that. We want to see in 3 years how you plan on generating revenues, what you plan on spending on, and it's not the easy. I think it's the hardest part to do properly and clearly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you have to think about it this way. If you're an entrepreneur, you're coming to us for funding, whether it's us or any other program out there, any traditional financial institution. Aside from risk, we want to know how you're going to be able to repay us,
Right.
but also how you're going to be able to repay us without it being the only thing you're able to do.
Flooding
Right?
yourself.
Exactly. So we want to be able to see that, sort of see the growth in it. There's also the aspect, and that's sort of an eligibility criteria. We want a full-time job to be created in that too. So for that to be clear from the numbers and from the strategy around it.
I want to pause just for a second because, a lot of our listeners and viewers, our majority, idea, I want to start a business. I'm coming from, underrepresented Black communities or whatever, and I just want to go. One of the things that you just said was really important, and it was, how are you going to make this business make sense in 3 years? We'll give you the money. Like, let's just say we're just throwing money around. Like, if we give you the money and then you might pay us back, but now you're going and working a job to pay us back. Like, say you're a great paybacker or whatever the case you call it. But, like, we want to make sure that this business is going to be able to pay us back and create a job for you and to not just be able to pay us back. And then now you're, kicking cans trying to figure out how you're going to survive for yourself. So I think it's really important to understand that, like, those numbers and really dig, like, so if you're an entrepreneur, you're somebody that's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, maybe spend some time checking out the tools on Futurpreneur, especially the cash flow projections, because that's really, a lot of times we talk to people that want to start a business. That's the part they can't see.
Exactly.
And I say to people all the time, like, think like the funder. Like, imagine would you take your 10, 20, 30 grand that you're asking for and give it to yourself? You know what I mean? Like, would you really do it? Like, do you believe in this business so much? Not so just like faith, but like, is it practical?
Yeah. And that's a great point. Even if you're not looking for funding, I would say go through that process of writing out your business plan, writing out your projections for yourself, because even if you're just dedicating time, you know, you want to see if this business is viable. Can it make sense in 3 years from now? And that's a great point to say. Think like the funder. Put yourself on the other side of this and say, okay, does this make sense for me to put this energy, this time, this money?
Because it might not.
This business. A lot of times it doesn't.
It might not, and that's okay. But like, I would rather know that on the front end than, you know, 20,000 hours invested, and you know, I borrowed this money or whatever. Because some people can make it look good, but it just didn't make sense down the road. And I think it's cool that you made mention to that that's what you look for. So like Futurpreneur and all these other lenders, they're not just giving you money or not giving you money, because whatever. It's like, man, they're seeing something in this business that they just don't see as sustainable. So you have to make them believe. But I think first you need to make yourself believe.
And making yourself believe and creating that plan will make it happen.
Right. Not guessing.
Not guessing.
Just one thing that I'd like to add also is, on the other hand, know what amount you need. Because it's easy. For example, our funding goes up to $60,000, depending
easy just
on.
To say 60,000.
Yeah, and you're like, I want 60,000 because no, show me why you need the 60,000 and how it's gonna help you. That's another also, you know, key part of the equation that you have to think about.
Certainly,
how you're gonna generate business in 3 years is one of the key metrics that you need to know. When you're applying,
what are you gonna do with that amount of money?
Specifically.
If it's 30, 40, 50, 60, what are you going to do with that? From a credit standpoint, I guess kind of tell us, you know, what are you looking for from that? Is it a score? Is it history? You know, a lot of us black folks, we don't got the best credit.
Them phone bills, man.
we got a couple of them. We got a couple of them.
It's always Rogers,
Rogers, man.
Somebody.
Them jackasses. We got a couple of those that we might have had in collections, etc. But you know, we're looking to turn life around and start businesses and go for funding. So, what are you guys looking for when you're doing that credit check?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's tough because whenever entrepreneurs go through the process, there's always that question, or even partners. Okay, so what's a credit score you're looking for? We never answer that because there isn't a specific credit score. So that's the first thing I'll say. We look at the whole, I'm going to say the whole story, the whole file, and what affects the credit to see really if there's a risk or if there's an issue. And the other thing that's really key to understand also, let's say hypothetical situation, there's a credit file with 3 collections and another one with a slightly lower score, but it's just late payments and it's all clear. There's a chance that the person with late payments receives the funding and the other one is deemed ineligible. And the thing to understand here is, it's not, like I said, it's not just about the score, but it's also the fact that if you have all these creditors coming at you, even if we give you the funding, there's a chance that it's taken away from you anyways. And we also don't want to add a financial burden if you're not ready to. And that's the part that a lot of entrepreneurs that get declined don't understand.
Don't see.
But I think it stems from just general financial literacy and understanding also what comprises your credit file. So we developed credit information videos that are accessible to all entrepreneurs online. That, you know, you can just log onto our platform and view them just to understand what goes into your credit. But it's really that. So that's what we like to. That's what we tell everybody basically about the credit piece, is that's how it's analyzed.
We're trying to protect you,
exactly,
you know, from yourself, essentially, kind of like, you know, a parent.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I've been declined for funding before, so it's always like, man, F them. Right. But then, like, when I look back, it's like, you know what? Like, we really weren't ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when the opportunities came and we landed some funding for different businesses, it made sense. It made sense why they were interested in, you know, giving us the money. Right. So I think it's really important to understand. I think that's why it's cool to have you here, is because, you know, you're behind the boards. Right, you're behind the boards and you're seeing it, and you're capable. Like, and I think the reason why we asked those questions earlier to kind of get to know you, a lot of times when people, you know, this is them first meeting you, our viewers, it's like, oh, well, she might be like the perfect person, or she knows this. And no, this is somebody who come from a Haitian family in Montreal who got 100 cousins, like we got 100 cousins. And, you know, like
had to grind for everything.
She's real. Like, this is a real person. She behind the boards. And so this is not just, you know, these institutions that are just saying no. It's like, nah, you got to have your shit together when you come, because if not, in 2-3 years, you're going to be drowning. You know what I mean? So like learn how to swim first and come correct. So yeah, I think it's cool. And I really appreciate it, kind of how we got to that place. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, very cool. A couple more questions we got here. What do you think, you know, what are the recipes that you see in your mind? It could be 4 or 5 different things of a successful business. What type of things do you think exist, or startup, maybe to make it a little bit more specific? What would you recommend, or what would you implore someone to have, you know, just to make sure their business succeeds in those first 2-3 years?
The first thing that comes to mind whenever I get asked that question is, there's no clear word, but sort of the openness and ability and flexibility to pivot.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the worst thing that you can do as a startup founder is to stay stuck and in love with your solution or your business, and not taking into consideration the market and what what the market wants, needs, and you miss so many opportunities, right? And so I think that's number one. And
don't fall in love.
Say that again.
Don't fall in love with your solution.
Yeah.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time for people, because, man, just say that again.
They say, fall in love with the problem and not the solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because that's the way you're gonna, I believe, and it's been proven in different, lots of cases. That's how you're more likely to succeed, right? So that's really, really, really important. And I say this all the time. You may draft your business plan today, and a month from now, it can, change, and that's okay. And that's how it should be. You have to stay receptive and agile to be able to seize all these different opportunities.
Certainly. Nice. So that's one. Don't fall in love
with the problem.
Don't
fall in love with your solution.
Yes.
Fall in love with the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
what else
one.
Would you say?
The other thing I would say is don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of people, when you're starting out, sometimes, the whole startup ecosystem is new. The different funding solutions are new, but everybody's there to answer questions. And it's okay if you're not ready for XYZ program now, but it's knowledge that you're gaining and to help you plan and strategize for when you're ready for it. And a lot of people stay paralyzed. Maybe it's not the right time. No. Go out there, talk to people, ask questions. It's not, I'm not saying you necessarily have to go out and pitch your business when you're not ready. That's not what I'm saying, but it's more knowing and understanding what's out there, and to continue doing that, because that's how you're gonna learn. I actually had a call yesterday with a Canadian entrepreneur based in Australia, a Black woman, developing a tech company using AI. Anyways, she reached out to me out of nowhere in the middle, and she just wanted to understand what Futurpreneur was doing, what other resources could be available. She's based in Australia for now, but she's moving. And I, saluted her for doing that, because nothing specific came out of that call, because right now, because she's at the R&D stage and all numerous reasons, she's not eligible to her program. But I found maybe 3 more people to connect her with that, she's going to talk to as well, and help her along her journey, and also help her figure out, the next steps. And even banks, honestly, people are afraid of banks or don't trust banks, but it's always good to know the tools and resources that are out there. when it's the right time to, I don't know, get that line of credit or the credit card or that account or whatever. Just asking questions and understanding is key.
Yeah, a lot of times we try to go into it like we know already. I'm trying to convince you I know. Like, yeah, you can trust me. I'm a trustworthy business person. You can give me money. You can give me resources and all those things. But sometimes it's like, you know what? Like, it's okay not to know. And if you ask questions, now you know. And matter of fact, now they know that you know. So it just builds a better relationship. And so that's why I think, too, like, if you're a young startup mode entrepreneur, like as many programs as you can get into, not like programs, but like as much resources online that you can tap into, as much seminars and courses,
organizations.
Like to just learn some shit before you go, or as you're going, like learning as you're going is really vital because you're not going to know everything about business, and business, the world is constantly changing.
Yeah, no, right? Those two, really struck a chord with me. One, not falling in love with the solution, falling in love with the problem, and two, asking questions. We say it all the time. When we go in certain rooms, we dumb ourselves down, and I think people are more implored to give you advice, to talk to you when you don't know it all. And I think the thing that stuck out to me as well is you can ask before you're ready. Right. So like I don't have to, most people say you can't get, when you're business, you can't get a line of credit until 2 years in. Right, but you can still go meet with the bank, have that conversation, to still ready your brain, prepare yourself ahead of time. I might not be asking for today, but I'm asking for 6 months down the road. I'm preparing myself, and through asking, I built a relationship. And that lady from Australia, you connected her with 3 other people, and I think just putting yourself in those conversations with people, those networks, is huge for sure. So that's dope. Next question I have. We seen a stat the other day that black women are and you probably heard this, black women are the leading founders of new businesses in North America. In the U.S. alone, black women accounted for 30% of the new small businesses started. That's huge, right? We did the numbers. I think black women might represent 5% of the population. So when you hear that, what do you think? Why do you think that exists? There's a huge influx of black women starting businesses, bringing things to life, and really, on a takeover, right?
It's funny. We see that as well, even with our program. When you look at the stats for year one, we funded 136 businesses, and 49% of them were women-led.
Wow.
See, so it's really
in Canada.
Yes.
136. The black businesses?
Yes.
136 black businesses funded. Yes. 49 of them.
49%.
Yes.
Jesus. 49% black women. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's really huge. That's like 70, almost close to 70 black women businesses in Canada. Yeah. That's dope.
That's what's up.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Positively crazy.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah. No, when it's a lot of, there's a lot of research and studies that came out in the past 2 years, but we finally have data, right, around black entrepreneurship and black women. And why I like these stats so much and why I'm so proud about our program, and even generally in Futurpreneur, we find a lot of a high percentage of women, is that we see that most women bootstrap, right? Use their personal funding to start. And another interesting thing was that, and I don't know the exact percentage, but a large percentage of them were highly educated, but not generating that much revenue. So like lots of micro businesses. So there's definitely something to do there. But what I think is happening right now, I think that, and a lot of things that we put on the pandemic's back, but it's huge, right? It shifted so many things, where women were, because a lot of the, how do you say that, the not chores, but the household responsibilities, taking care of the children and so on, a lot of the time fall on the women. And I think that turned a lot of women through entrepreneurship to sort of build their own things. And I think there's also a large percentage of black women that even reinvest sort of in the community, and a lot of their businesses that they start are around giving back to the community in one way or another. And so yeah, I find it extremely inspiring. But I'm excited to see, now that we have these stats for right now, what will it be like in 5 years?
Right.
Will the numbers rise? Will more of them access funding and, you know, prepare and get larger numbers and bigger businesses? That's what we're preparing for, you know, right now. And we have to meet them where they're at. So it's
exciting.
And hearing that alone just gives me a little rush of like, it's going to be real cool to see in the next 5 to 10 years.
Because this is like this is the beginning of like, you know,
Black women being funded
and
Black
being
businesses
able to, like, you know, like this is the first, like, this is the beginning of, you know, Black people, but Black women specifically, that are in a position where there's a lot of, I guess, resources being dumped into them because they are underrepresented but super capable. And I think in the next 5 years, I'm really excited to see, you know, some mega Canadian Black businesses that are led and owned by women, and I think that they're going to help, you know, change the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
We say it all the time. Black women are the cornerstone of the Black community. Yeah. So when we start putting, and they've always been superhumans. Yeah. Things that they did with nothing. Yeah. Making something out of nothing. So now that we're getting a little something, and they're in the business world. Yeah. I think they take it to levels that we've never seen before. Yeah. So that's super dope. We're going to wrap it up with a couple quick little rapid fire questions. A couple questions I steal from a couple podcasts that always just gives me an insight on people. How much would you say of where you are today was out of luck versus hard work? Is there a percentage? What would you say about that?
Wow. I know they're rapid fire questions, but I have to think.
No. They get thrown at you rapidly, but they're not always answered rapidly.
I would say roughly 75% hard work, 25% luck, sort of thing.
And I would probably go a little further to say I don't really see it as luck. I just think you were always positioning yourself. You're a big networker. You've always took that coffee. You were doing those things, and that's what kind of led to the. So you know what I mean.
What do they say about luck? Help me out. I know something like if you put yourself in a position, luck will follow you. Yeah, something like that, right? Yeah. Like it's not really luck. It's just you had to go to that coffee meeting. Yeah, and then
I had to say hi to that person at that networking event. I had to befriend that person in school.
It wasn't luck that you came to our show today. We chatted with Alfred. We connected with him. He connected us, right? So. That's how I see it.
Intervention, divine intervention.
There you go.
Okay. Another one. If you had a big billboard anywhere in the world, huge, and you got to put one sentence on there or one word or one phrase, what would you put on that?
That's a good question.
Okay, so it's a quote that I like. And I forget exactly how it goes, but sort of when there's no opportunity, you build the door. It was
we'll find a quote.
Yes, but it was basically what it means. So it's about creating your own opportunities. Even if
the door's not there, you create the door.
Yes, that would be it.
That's fire. Yeah, that's what's up.
I could see that like everywhere.
If there's no door, you build the door. We might got to steal that one.
Yeah.
That'll be my next Instagram caption.
Ooh, thank you.
There you go.
Yes.
Don't knock.
Shout out to producers.
Thank you.
No, very dope. Well, man, this has been a great convo. I'm leaving super inspired. It was great to meet you. You know, I feel like I know you through and through today.
Yes.
Anything last you want to share before we kind of close it out?
I would just say, as we've said throughout the story, don't be afraid of doing anything. Even if it doesn't work out, you'll get something out of it.
Yes.
So seize all the opportunities that come. And thank you so much. I love this. I love connecting with both of you, and very excited, very happy about this opportunity.
Yes, I mean, you can tell them anywhere. You can tell them where to find you, where to find Futurpreneur, anything that you're doing. Yes,
so if you want to know more about the program, head over to www.futurpreneur.ca. BESP.
Hey.
We also have a podcast called Startup and Prosper that I host. So I'm keeping note of the both of you because you know we're preparing for season 2.
Yeah.
That's available on all streaming platforms. We also host webinars every month. They're called How to Apply webinars. So they're straight up what the program is about and how you apply to it. So you can log on. There's French and English.
Nice.
So yeah, these are all the ways you can connect with us, and we're on all social media. So if you want to know more,
Sweet. Futurpreneur.
Yeah.
But
I'm super grateful, for the opportunity to meet you on air. You know, I think that was pretty cool. Like, this is the first time that we've done an episode with somebody that we never knew
before,
prior to. But I think, as Nevell said, like, we got to know you throughout this podcast, and I think it was really inspiring to hear your story and your journey. So I'm super grateful for that because, I think I call this show like my therapy session. Like, the world is just crazy out here. We come in here and we just talk to people sometimes it's just us. So to kind of, share therapy session with you and just to listen and learn so much about you, I'm super thankful for that. So, appreciate you being here.
Definitely. Thank you for coming. Like you said, fresh off a plane. And I'm excited to, I think I really connected with you, and I think there's a relationship that will exist after this, right?
Absolutely.
Before you leave, we're going to bring you to the kitchen. We're going to maybe bring you to the North Preston, see the community. But, I think we got to make a trip to Montreal. Maybe if you guys do that, invite us on the pod. We'll come up there and connect with the folks there. But super excited and happy to meet you. And once again, thank you for coming along the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.